Hi, welcome to Objective 1. That's right, in our last chapter, Chapter 17. In Chapter 17, we're going to look at oligopolies. And oligopolies, again, as I said in Chapter 16, if we're viewing things in terms of an industry from the top down, some people may say that it's an oligopoly because there might be a few relatively large producers. But if you're looking at the brand names and the number of brands in that industry, it might be thought of as monopolistic competition, and that's the bottom up scenario. So let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to look at a couple of objectives that I'm going to lead you through, and then there are some really good YouTube videos which have already been produced, and I think they do a really good job, particularly explaining some of the more complex areas of this, but I'm not going to leave you on your own. I'm going to go through it, and then if you want supplemental material, it will be there. As of today, and today is, hey, how about March 30th, I believe, I will be having online Zoom during your class, and so check the details on your email to see when that is. So once a week I'll be setting up a Zoom meeting, and where you're going to be able to get me, and I can answer any questions that you might have during this less than typical semester that we're currently having. So thank you, and let's go ahead and jump into Chapter 17, Objective 1. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so here we're going to look at oligopolies and take a look at what are the characteristics of an oligopoly. So the first thing is that oligopolies can arise from market concentration. And so when we talk about oligopolies, what we have is a few relatively large producers. Okay, which, because there's a few relatively large producers, two things happen. One is that maybe the supplier or producer has a little more power in the market. And the second thing which may happen is if there is only a few producers, then might they decide to get together, if you will, and collude. And what we mean by collude is maybe they want to try to act like monopolies. So maybe there's an agreement, which is illegal, but maybe there's an agreement, if you serve this portion, I'll serve this portion. And so those are some of the things that we're going to talk about in this particular example. So these market concentration ratios are a little bit old, but what we want to do is to take a look at what is the total output by the four largest firms, okay? And the higher the concentration ratio, the less the competition. And so here's some examples. So as you look at some of these categories or some of these industries, think about how many producers can you name. Like batteries, I think I can only name 3. Soft drinks, I can name about 3. Here, probably 2 or 3, okay? So this is what we mean by the concentration ratio, meaning how much of the concentration in the market or the demand in the market is sewn up by relatively large producers. Okay, so an oligopoly, again, few sellers that have similar or identical products. So that says to us, there is still some elasticity here, but the few sellers will mean that the suppliers have a little bit more power than what we've seen in monopolistic competition. Now, we do start to talk about in this particular chapter the idea of strategic behavior, because if there's only 2 competitors in a market, then many times competitor A will take its actions based upon what it thinks competitor B will do, and B will take its actions based upon what A will do. And this gave rise to a whole area of economics called behavioral economics. And we're going to dip our toe into behavioral economics a little bit in this chapter and kind of take a look at what that is and what it means. So we do start talking about strategy in this particular chapter. Okay, we also will introduce game theory. And what is that? So think about a game that maybe you've played, a higher level game perhaps. Think about chess, all right? Now, if you don't play chess, maybe checkers, okay? Now, what you do or what move you make is based upon what your opponent might do. And so that's what we mean in a sense by this game theory, which is a branch of behavioral economics. Okay, I think that's the end of that particular objective. So in the next objective, what we're going to be talking about is game theory, payoff matrices, then we'll talk about the Nash equilibrium, and hopefully you'll find this interesting because it's where psychology and sociology really come to bear in economics. So until next time, thanks, be well.